everyone, and welcome to another episode of Why People Do What They Do, where we speak to talented and accomplished individuals from various fields. Today, I'm so excited to have a conversation with the immediate past Chief Justice of Malaysia. He's had an illustrious legal career, and he is now very involved in community programs, which he's clearly very passionate about. I'm so excited to introduce to all of you Datuk Seri Panglima Richard Malanjum. Tan Sri, thank you so much for joining us on the show. How are you?
Thank you very much for inviting me to this program. Exciting. And hopefully I can contribute something for the younger generations.
Definitely, Tan Sri. We're so looking forward to it. Tell us a little bit about your background, Tan Sri. How did you get started in the legal field? Have you always wanted to be a lawyer?
As the saying goes, an event can trigger one's life. It can create, can move to another angle. And mine was different. At the age of about 10 years old, I think our paddy field was flooded by a chemical from a nearby factory. That resulted in when you go into the paddy field to cultivate it, you get very itchy skin and so forth. So my mother is illiterate, couldn't do anything, but she was complaining. She was did not know what to do. And at the time, I think I was in primary 5 or so, and I had a mind to say, why don't we write a letter to the jail manager? But who is to write? So I wrote the letter. And I don't know what I wrote, to be honest with you, but I tried whatever I knew. And we struggled from there. And mind you, within 3 or 4 months, they have to stop the factory. And actually, we managed to get the others also to join us. And that's the time I realized if nobody fight for the generations, for people, nobody will do anything. And I thought that being a lawyer will be the best profession to do, where you can actually stand up for injustices. That was the beginning. That triggered the event that I kept that in mind. But that is the event that triggered it. I always remember that.
So you were 11 years old, primary 5, right?
About 10 or so, 11. About that, 10, 11. That's right.
And this paddy field, it was in Saba? You grew up in Saba?
Yeah. That's right, in Saba. Our paddy field.
Your childhood?
Sorry?
Tell us about your childhood in Saba.
Oh, nothing eventful, but I remember one thing about it. Going to school was an arduous job. It is really tedious, very hard to go to school in those days. We don't have roads.
Okay.
Nothing else. The only transport we have is the 2 legs. And mind you, the nearest railway station, you take about an hour or so to walk. And you have to conquer 3 high hills. I don't call it mountains, but they are hills. And you have high hills, and you have to cross at least 1 or 2 rivers. I think about 2 rivers, one big one small one. And you go through endless paddy fields. So you have to walk that every morning. And the earliest train that leaves the station is about 6:30 or 7. And we have to take 1 hour walk or so,
Wow.
So imagine that we have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning every day. And then we walk. You're looking at a boy of about 5, 6 years old, walking through up and down the hills, high hills, and then down across the river, rickety bridges. We don't have good bridges those days, made of bamboo and nibung tree trunk, and we have to cross that. And it was sometimes very slippery. It's not so bad when it is not raining. But when it is raining, it was hell. And when the paddy fields are tall, you go through the paddy. By the time you reach the other end, you'll be all wet because there are a lot of morning dews and all that. Plus the disturbance of the spiders and all that. Very uncomfortable. So much so that by the time we reach the station, sometimes we have our very muddy legs, And in order to put on our shoes, we sometimes have no time to wash. So we just put on our socks, with the mud inside. And you put in the shoes, and we must be, I think our body smell must be to high heaven at the time because we're all sweating all over. And the biggest thing that we need to do is to protect the books. So we rather get wet, never mind, but the books must not get wet. And we will then take the train. By the time we reach Kota Kinabalu at the time, it's about 1 hour journey, and we go to school. Now tell me, how can you then concentrate studying when you are sleepy, tired, and hungry? When you wake up at 4 in the morning, 4:30 or 5, you don't think of breakfast, There's no breakfast. You go to school empty stomach. And then you walk there. So by the time you reach school, those fellows in the town, they're happy because it's easier to school, but worse, it was going through hell in a way. So we started with quite a number of students, and everybody dropped out after a while, because it's too tiring to go to school. And only later on that we managed to learn bicycles, but you have to go through the mud as well with the bicycles because there's no proper road. It's just a buffalo track sometimes.
Oh dear.
You got to cycle through that. I know exactly how it feels, and that's why now today I'm a very strong advocate of having hostels near the schools, so that kids do not walk to school for hours.
And how long do you do this?
Makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, it does. And how long do you do this?
From primary 1 right up to Form 1, I think.
Wow.
Also, yeah, it's about 5 or 6 years of the journey. But of course, the later part of it, when we're a little bit bigger, we use bicycles. But we can't bring the bicycle to the house. We got to park it somewhere. So every night you pray that nobody will steal your bicycles, or nobody will let go the air. A few times we went there and we see the bicycle, no air. How to go to school? And we need to cycle to the station at a time. And when it is raining, that's the worst because the very muddy track and you get wet. So what do? It's not easy to cycle when it's raining, And that's how it is. And I remember one time when I was about to start, I end up in the drain, in the drain actually in a big, not so much. It's a pool of water, very dirty in the paddy field. But I still went to school when I was very dirty because you can't stop schooling. The teacher will punish you, and they wouldn't understand in those days. That we came from the deep jungle. The teachers did not understand.
Right. Were there many kids from where you were traveling with you every day?
Only a few of us started. And because some went to a Malay school nearby, but we wanted to do English, so we went to this mission school in Kota Kinabalu, run by the mission LaSalle Brothers. So it started along that line, but that's how it is growing up.
Right.
That I remember that very well.
Bring us through that journey then of you clearly persevered, getting educated, walking to school, cycling to school, through the rain, whatever the conditions of the weather were, you showed up. Bring us through that journey of how then you got a legal education, education in the legal.
All right. Yeah. That's very interesting because remember, in our society, I hope it's not talent, or I hope it's going to be a dying culture. It's a question of who you know instead of what you know, And quite a number of us did quite okay in our study, but doesn't guarantee a scholarship.
Okay.
Doesn't guarantee a scholarship. Because if you don't know anybody or your parents is nobody, you are nobody. That's a cruelty of our society. And I hope this kind of mindset stops, because it is just not fair to the lower end of the society. It's not fair. But anyway, for me, I got to find ways and means to get to study law. And you're looking at in 1970 days, hardly any law school. Malaysia did not have a law school. They just started, I think, in the MU law faculty in 71 or 71, I think. But it's not easy to go in there because they only take about 50 students. So where do you go?
It was a quota.
Yeah, quota. And you want to go to England? Oh, you need about how much? Maybe in 200,000 or 300,000 ringgit at the time, dollars at the time we call it. Then where to find? You're from the kampong, So I had to work. So I was really working for about a year or two. I was started as a laborer, I went to join agriculture and start clearing the jungle. So I know how a laborer's life is. and how you live in a kongsi, they call it, where you sleep on a hard plank, and in the morning you wake up 6 o'clock and you go out there and start cutting the jungle. I went through that.
And all to pay for your university tuition.
No, you pay $1.50 a day for that work. So I know how it is a laborer's life in a way. Anyway, later on, I managed to get some work, joined the welfare department. And that is where I saw hardship in the welfare department. Why people need help, especially the weak, the poor, and the widows. So, but then I was restless because, remember, I was always thinking of doing law. So at that time, they call it ITM, Institute Technology Mara, ITM. They were conducting an external course. They were doing this LLB program with the London University. And I heard about it. And of course, I applied. It is more or less just a place to study, but you have to sit for exam from London. And it is like shooting in the dark. So when exam came, 50 or 60 of us sat for it. I'm not boasting about it, but only 2 or 3 of us passed the first round. Many did the external degree. It took them about 5-6 years to do. But I couldn't afford the time because I need to go home and work and support my family.
How old were you at that, Sri?
I think at the time I was about 17, 18, about 18 or 19 at the time. So, but I need to work so that I can help out my parents. So I got to struggle. So, but the course was so hard that the first year I gave up, literally. I went home and told my mother, I said, I am giving up, I'm going back to work. But my mother was good. Said, no, we can still go on. You go back to study. And another time, there was no Malaysia airline. So there was no Asia, but we had this airline called Palando. Palando. Oh yes, and the aeroplane when it flies, it has a 2 or 4 propeller, but it's very old plane. And when it starts, it will be rattling everywhere. And one time when we flew, there was even a fire, I think, in the engine. But that's interesting. And by that time, we didn't have any fear. So
and this was from Saba, Palando.
Yes. This airline from KL, but they do this cheap flight. And I don't know where they got that plane, Very rusty looking plane. But we follow that. That's the only cheap plane that we can go. So we took that plane, Palando. I always remember that. And we flew to KL. And mind you, in KL, we hardly have been to Kuala Lumpur. We've never seen a heavy traffic jam and so forth. Hardly eaten nasi lemak before because we in Sabah, we hardly eat this hot food before, So we went to KL and then we were introduced this hot curry. Imagine, you are like to eat this simple food and you eat there with hot curry and so forth. We suffered for a few weeks, in the morning especially with the curry. So, but now, it's one of our favorite food, curry. But these are things that make you remember. But we studied, and the lecturers were telling us we can only guide you. You have to study your own. Good luck to you. You are shooting in the dark. If you are lucky, you hit. If you are not lucky, you try to hit again. So that's why it took some time for us to pass quite a number. I was lucky. I managed to do it within the shortest time, 3 years, to do my LLB with London University. I was just plain lucky. So I got that within 3 years.
And you stayed in KL that time?
Well, I was staying in Shah Alam. Shah Alam that time was still a barren place, I saw Shah Alam growing. It was a barren place, nothing there, only a few houses, very hot in the daytime. But things were simple and cheap. And there was a lot of rubber trees. And you find a lot of small mama taria, we call it, It's mama shop selling roti canai and mama goreng, mee goreng, So me, mama, I know that. And those days, they were very tasty. I don't know why. Maybe because they hardly use water. But now I don't find that kind of taste anymore. But that was our staple food. And of course, complemented by Maggi mee. At the time, instant noodle.
Also, that was your staple food back then, Maggi.
Yes, because we don't have the college provided food, but when you are growing up, you tend to get hungry easily. So we have to complement with a noodle, instant noodle. At the time Maggie, I think it was only 25 cents one for each, yeah. But we don't have that kind of money. We got about $15 allowance pocket money every month. So we got to use that. Imagine that means you're only allowed to use how much per day. So one packet of the instant noodle Maggie mee at a time, we have to divide into two, just in case we will get hungry in the middle of the night. So we reserve the other half.
Wow.
So otherwise we have no money. We have no money. And we were lucky because we were given a free accommodation, free books and all that. We were just lucky. And but the failing rate was very high. As I said, out of 50 of us said, and only about, I think about 3 or 4 of us. I think I had both 4 or 5. I can't remember now the number, but I know it was less. You can count by the fingers, yeah. And that was the first year. Come the second year, I do not be seen to be boasting about it, but I was the only survivor for the second year. So much so that in the final year, I was a new student and there were 2 or 3 others that is the repeaters. So we only 3 or 4 of us, but I was a freshie in the final year. So if the repeaters were not there, I would have been there, the only student in the final year. Not that I didn't like it, I enjoyed it because the lecturers then would focus on me, but but that's the thing, the test that you go through.
What was it about reading law that you loved most about? And after graduating, after 3 years, what was it about the job that you loved then? Reading law then as a student, and then the rest of the job when you came out as a lawyer?
Yeah, I realized it that if you don't have the passion for the law, if you are not actually interested in it, it's very difficult to study law, to read law rather. So, number one element, if you want to be a serious lawyer, you must have that passion. You must be passionate about it. So much so that at times when you're a bit sleepy and people discuss about the law, you wake up, suddenly you just freshen yourself with listening about the legal problem. So that kind of interest must be within you. That's how I felt. And I became very passionate with law. Until today, I'm still very, very passionate with law. When it comes to discussion about law, I can stay the whole night. That kind of passion, That's why I said for the younger lawyers, if you don't have the passion, do not do it. In fact, now and then they invite me to talk to the universities. The first sentence I said is, put up the hand of those who want to be a lawyer and who are passionate about the law. If you don't have, I think you better leave. Because it's not fair.
I find that a lot of young people, they love the idea of being a lawyer.
Yes.
Such a noble profession, but they're not ready to put their nose to the grindstone.
Correct. You are right. In fact, if you are not ready to do that kind of amount of time spending, don't do it. Because in the end, you suffer. You suffer. So, as in any other profession, I think there must be an element of passion. You have to be passionate. If you are not passionate in anything you do, there is no sincerity in it. So that's my approach to it, and that's why I never get tired with law. Never get tired with law.
Let's go back to, let's talk about your legal career, Tan Sri. You were a deputy public prosecutor in the Sabah State Attorney General's chambers before going into private practice for more than a decade. So you were in private practice for a while. Tell us a little bit about that decision to make that switch from government service into private practice, and then being appointed as a High Court judge shortly after that. So there were switches in between. What was the for you?
Yeah, I was in the service as a DPP and also a state counsel. The good thing about it today is that you learn a lot, Your seniors will teach you this and that. You get exposed to the state laws. You learn how the laws actually made and what actually is the mind of the legislature. You get to advise the government department and the police and so forth. So you realize that that's the first test of power, As a DPP, you're full of power. That is where you have to learn how to manage power. Because if you don't know how to manage power, two things can happen. either it make you mad, yeah. Power can make you a person's mad, literally, or it can really go on top of you, and it may destroy your life.
And when
So
did you realize that? Because at
I-
the time, not many people realize that until a later age when they look back and reflect and reminisce. But it seems like you recognize that from an early age. What?
No, I'm lucky because my late mother has always been my inspiration. She always advised from young, from very small, from a toddler. She has always told us this: never abuse whatever power you have. I always remember that, and it kept it with me, and always be humble. So I preserve that advice until this very moment. It is very, very important. So when you have the power, the more powerful you are, the humbler you must be. And never abuse it. You only use it to do good. That's how it should be. That's how it should be.
So, Tan Sri, bring us through also the journey of being on the bench for many, many years. Being chief judge of the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak for 12 years, was it? 12 years, and then being appointed as Chief Justice of Malaysia. Looking back on all those years, Tan Sri, was this path that you took, was it intentional on your part?
Well,
judge. Okay, looking back as when you were 11 years old, when you decided for the first time that you wanted a career in law. And then when you were struggling as a student and you were working to earn money for your family and then struggling through for 3 years, do you ever imagine that you would be a judge and then eventually Chief Justice of Malaysia?
I remember when I was a law student and we were walking around in Kuala Lumpur at the time, roving around during the weekends, yeah. So we saw this car and somebody pointed to me, that is a car of the judge. It's not, I didn't fall in love with the car, but the respect, I said, the difference given by the public, that's the judge car and all that. And of course, as a law student, they always talk about judge, reading the judgment. So it gets into you, I think, if you ask me honestly, I think you ask any lawyer, every lawyer and serious with the profession has an ambition to be a judge one day,
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think there's any lawyer who can say, I will never be just a judge. Everybody has that inkling to be a judge. Whether he or she will take it later is another story. But that is the first thing. And I remember when I was still studying law, and a friend of mine, my classmate, came one day in the evening. He said, hey, look, I managed to hitchhike in a lawyer's car. Which at the time, don't say hitchhiking was very popular, And you just stand by the roadside and put your finger and your thumb, and then people will give you a ride. I don't know.
If you do it, it's so dangerous now if you do it.
They just do it. But now I think it doesn't happen no more, I think now. There are too many dishonest fellas. But those days, even the lorry, we take hitchhike, lorries. Oh. So anything we'll do, as long as they bring us to Kuala Lumpur. So anyway, because there's no money to pay for the bus. Bus is very expensive. And we better preserve the money and took a hitchhike. Between the girls and the boys, we take hitchhike.
Those days.
Those days people were very nice. Not now. I don't know why the society, the more they get educated, the worse they get, That is the problem with our society. The more educated they are, the worse they get. Not the other way around. Those days, they're very nice. So this fellow came in, I got right. I got a check with a lawyer, he said. Big guy, he said. So what? I said, wow, you should see. He was sitting there, only holding the steering with one hand, he said. And the other hand was somewhere. And his leg also was up on the side, on the console box or whatever. He was describing it. He was driving. We must do that, he said. When we graduated. Imagine how innocent thinking is that. So I always remember that my friend is still a good friend of mine. And then we used to joke about it. So recently I met him and said, hey, are you now driving with one hand on the steering wheel? Oh, no, he said, I got a driver now. So he has improved, you see. So this is the thing. But anyway, any law graduate will want to be a judge. In my case, it was actually more or less accidental in a way that I was very enjoying myself in the legal practice. Aside from making a lot of money, I must say it was very lucrative and I was enjoying it, going to court. One of the cases that I handled was when a poor man, a farmer from the northern part of Sabah, Tamparuli or Tenggilan, his land was taken by the government before independence in the 1958, and he came to see me what year? 1981 or 82. So technically, that would have been out of time. Time limitation would have set in. So he came to see me in his short and torn t-shirt, and he was barefooted, kaki ayam they call it, and he looked very haggard, and he came and said, I want to see you, he said. I said, why? Could you help me, he said. And at the time, I just started my practice. And he said, why? I said, I've seen many lawyers, but they refuse to take my case because they said I have no case. It has been too long. Imagine, since 58, before independence. So I look at his paper, he told me a story. I felt very bad because it's the government who acquired the land and did not pay him a cent. What happened, he said, was they took the title, asked for it just to check. That was the explanation. So he gave his title, suddenly he gave the title to some officers. The next thing he knew was his land was already taken. There was already a mark and taken by the department, and they started planting durians and so forth. And he has been writing to the chief ministers at the time and complaining everywhere. Nobody listened to him. So when I look at the case, and I said, if you just have a cursory of it, if you don't have a passion for justice, you just tell him, hey, pulang lah, you go home because you have no case. But no. I sat him down and I talked to him and listened to him. I tell you, I remember the story of the paddy field, what I went through. So I said, I'll take up this case. But he said, I have no money. Never mind, I said. Then he said, can you give me money for my bus fare home? So I have to give him money. So he took money and went home. And of course, I handled the case. And the next time he saw me, he brought some rambutan. And I said, a garnish sack of rambutan, I think. I asked him, how do you get this? I collect this from the garden, government garden. He said, I said, where you stole? No, it's my land, he said. So anyway, I said, well, I don't really take that, but you can give it to the staff if you want, I said. And that was it. And we went to court, and of course, the government said, time lah. I said, no, it's not time bad. And we had to do a lot of, at the time, no internet research, so you got to read. You got to physically read books, and law journals and so forth. And I stumbled upon a case where it says it cannot be a time limitation when it was still a continuing thought. So I took that and brought it to the judge, brought my client, the judge saw him also, I think, barefooted and torn clothing, very poor. And of course, we won. We won the first round. But the government said, no, we are going to take you up to the federal court. Went up to the federal court. The matter reached up to federal court. Another fight round there, another round of fight. This man has no money to pay. But we succeeded. And in the end, the man got his land back. And he was also awarded cost of 8,000 ringgit. And I don't have to take it because I said, this is your money. So it was done on a pro bono basis. But I tell you, if you ask me, and if he had the money and paid me $1 million, I would have taken his thank you to me rather than $1 million. The feeling is entirely different, when a poor man says thank you to you and a rich man give you $1 million. Entirely different. I think it was a priceless feeling. And that's how it is. And that's why I said, for a lawyer, you have to be passionate and you got to really help if you want to help. And that part really made, I was very satisfied. I said, finally, that's what the law should be. So that's how it is.
What really resonates with me, what you just said, is also the patience, the time. I'm sure you poured in a lot of
time into it.
How long was it done straight from the time he stepped into your office to tell you about the case until you even won the case?
In those days, they didn't have a computer system and they didn't have a chief judge like the way I treated the thing worked. I never believed in delays, but in those days, they take their own sweet time. But I was quite lucky also that the judge who heard it were very, he understood things, that I would really have to thank him because he understood the nature of a human being He was a very humble person, and he knows the meaning of poverty and so forth. So he expedited it. I think within 2 years or so, 2.5 years, we saw justice done. And then it went up to the federal court, another about a year or so. So about 3.5 years, but it's better than for the man to wait from 1958, isn't it? So within 3 years, he got his land, and he got also a land planted with durian and rambutan and all that. So that was it. So imagine that. Yeah, yes. So I remember that.
What would you say then is your proudest moment when you were on the bench?
Oh. I don't know how to say it, because there may be some downside and there were an upside, but there's one case that it always stuck my mind, it's a family matter, and it's a tussle between a father and mother. They were divorcing, but they had a small baby, a small girl. It's about, I think the girl was about 3 or 4 years old, if not younger. So the father wants the child as well. This is a custody issue, and the mother also wants it. Mother looks very timid. The father was a bit aggressive, and I told him, can you fellas have a joint custody or so forth? No. Father said no. The wife has no means of taking care of this girl. So imagine, and you're sitting there as a judge. How would you know who loves who?
Yeah,
it's almost impossible to read the mind, isn't it? And the father had a lawyer. The mother didn't have a lawyer. So what do you want me to do as a judge? So I said, I tell you what, I said, and this, I tell you, Jacqueline, on this thing. So I told the parties, I said, I tell you what, since both of you are not willing to give in, no compromise, the court will take the child. I'll make her the ward of court. And that's it. You all can visit, but I will make her a ward of court, meaning that I will send her to the welfare home to take care, to be taken care of.
You mentioned she was 2 years old, 3 years old?
About 3 or 4, I think. About 3 or 4, but small girl. So, of course, the mother quickly told me, said, if that's the decision of the court, and let the child be with my husband. And the husband said, oh, that's very good decision to send the child to welfare home. Very good, he said. So what was my decision? Jacqueline, what do you think? What did I say?
I think it showed that the mother cared for the child more than the dad.
There, who did I give the child to?
The mom.
Exactly. So after the child asked, the lawyer asked me, my lord, but the mother said, give it to the husband. Why are you not? You're not following her instruction. And I said, have you heard of Solomon's wisdom? And then I said, oh my God. So
were you actually planning for that to happen?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was listening and I was thinking, and then I was thinking to myself, what's the best solution? So I took that is the best solution. I thought so, that give it to the child. I want to test actually the feeling of either one of them. That's the only way to test. How do you read the mind?
How often do you use your gut feel when you were a judge?
I would say a lot of common sense and be truthful to yourself, A judge must be truthful to himself, be honest to yourself, and use a lot of common sense in a way that, as long as the common sense is not contrary to law, but after all, justice is conscience. What is the right thing to do? I think that's very, very important. What is the right thing to do in a given situation? If we remember that, that's very important. And you don't think about your career. Oh, if I do this, my bosses may not be happy, and so forth. No.
That's very common these days, isn't it?
Well, not only on the bench, I think everywhere. Everybody taking care of their own plate of rice.
Yeah,
but I think
as well.
But I think, you ask me, it shouldn't be the primary purpose. The primary purpose should, if you are given a task, is to do the right thing. And to use your common sense and do the right thing and to be fair. and and at least that's what I believe in. And be honest about it. Be honest about it as much as possible. Be honest. There should be no compromise to that. And but of course, if you make a mistake, you can't help it at times. I mean, we are not infallible. Yeah. So sometimes you may miss things. That's okay. I don't say myself I'm infallible. I should be in heaven, not on earth, isn't it? If I'm infallible, but we are all human beings. We do make mistakes. But the important thing is that there should not be mala Friday involved. Yeah, it should be done in good faith. Even if the mistake was done, it was done. You see, there is no person cannot be blamed for mistake. In a way, if it's a genuine mistake or so forth. But even the mistake was intentional mistake, that's a different story altogether. That's my take on it, lah. So, being a judge, honesty is very important, and you have to work hard, and you must see things. You try your best to do right. Never mind about your career. For younger lawyers, it's very important. I think there was a book written by Lord Denning, Road to Justice, I think, where he said that once a person is appointed as a judge, he must never think of his career, promotion, and so forth. So that was advice of Lord Denning, and hopefully that prevails, among our younger generation. But that's it. I don't claim to be angel or whatever when I was in the bench, or that I never made mistake. Of course, I made a lot of mistakes. Yeah, but that's the part of the learning process, isn't it?
You were Chief Judge Tan Sri for the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak for a very long time, for 12 years. And then you were appointed as Chief Justice of Malaysia in 2018, I believe, right? Having a career in the spotlight is not easy. It comes with power comes great responsibilities, right? How do you deal with adversities that you have faced, and how do you overcome them?
The first principle of life, I think, is always be yourself. Regardless of what your position is, always be yourself. If you always be yourself, the position doesn't matter, and then you have no problem. So that's why for me, even though I was sitting as a chief judge, I can sit down anywhere in the coffee shop or in the kadai mama or in the stall and makan. I have no problems about that, because to me, that's your personal life. As long as you don't misbehave yourself in public, very important. So be yourself, be humble, and when there are adversities in life, in your career, people comment all these things. You don't take it too hard. When people pass adverse comment on you, they got the right to speak up. But if you then keep on thinking about it, you may go mad, isn't it? Worrying about it. So you let it pass. You let it go. You find a solution, because the time will tell who is right and who is wrong. If you know that you are right, the time will tell. So you don't have to worry about it. And of course, if you make a mistake, there's no harm to apologize. Yes, I'm sorry about it. That's how it is. That's how I deal with this kind of problem. If I'm wrong, I say sorry. Or even if I say sorry, somebody tell me you should say sorry for it, and I realize it's true, I say sorry. I think that's important. And be fair to others, and always be humble. I believe in this. When you're holding the job, every day is your last day of work,
Oh, that's interesting. Why do you say that?
Because if you don't think that every day is the last day of your work, you will not do your best for the day. You will start thinking, tomorrow I may lose my job, I may this and that. But if you said, today's my last day of job, anybody that does his last day of job, he does his best, isn't it, to perform. He does it honestly, isn't it? He does his best, and then he makes sure that he leaves a good record, right? So if every day is the last day of your job, of your work, is the last day of your employment, you do well. So you keep that in mind. You should be okay in life, The problem nowadays is that quite a number of people, with all due respect, will think that, they got another 10 years, they got a career to meet, and then they want to hit a target. Somebody, by this time, by this age, I should be a director or so forth. Don't do that. Because if you do that, then you forget your function. right? But you say today is my last day of job, I may be able to leave today. Yeah, I just pack my bag and go home. Then you do your very best. That's why when I was still on the bench and even as a DPP, I never leave personal thing in the office. I only bring my bags every day. And should I then decide to resign at 4:30 in that evening, I just take my bag. I don't have to pack. A lot of people put a lot of the personal thing in their office. So when they get sacked, they take them time to pack, isn't it? No. Yeah, big boxer. While crying, while crying. So no. I never believe in personal thing being left. Photographs of family. No. Thank you very much. So I don't have anything.
Throughout your career, nothing.
Yes, nothing.
Memorabilia.
No personal thing in my room. Hardly. If there's one or two also, I put by the secretary. I said, very soon take it off. I cannot stand it. So if it's office thing, never mind. But my personal thing, hardly. I can live within 5 minutes at most. Maybe I take some in the drawer, some my old pen or whatever I take. But otherwise, I don't leave a lot of personal thing there. That I have to keep, books maybe 2 or 3 years, but otherwise no.
That's very interesting. Would you say, Tan Sri, that you're a person who can compartmentalize very well? You compartmentalize your personal life, your professional life, and that is why you can compartmentalize and not be driven by power so much. You don't see the job that you had at that time to become you.
No, I think there should be no hypocrisy in one's life, As I said just now, be yourself all the time. Whether in a personal life or in a professional life, be yourself. I think that's very important. Because if you start taking back Bonnie and Clyde kind of situation, when you are sitting in the post, you behave differently. When you are in the privacy, you behave differently. I don't think that's right. It makes your life very hard, isn't it? If you have that you adopt the two kind of personalities, I think it's very difficult, isn't it? So I don't believe in that. I believe in be yourself at all times, and because of that, you don't have a worry about compartmentalizing your life in a way. That's my approach to life actually.
Tell us about your routine now, Tan Sri. What have you been up to since you retired from the bench, just being on the bench? And tell us about your daily routine now.
Yeah, well, as I started earlier on, I love law is still my first love. As they say that a lawyer, the law is the wife, and the wife is the mistress. There is a saying. When I was young, a senior lawyer told me that. He said, son, if you want to be a good lawyer, remember this. When you get married, your wife is the mistress. The law shall be your wife. And indeed, he is right, So you become very passionate with the law. You forget everything else. So that's why now, whatever it is, I'm still very much in love with law. I do a lot of lectures and then either or webinar or universities. And I do a little bit of consultancy job because it keeps me going, to read current laws. And at least the mind is still very active. But I have also picked up or restarted my hobby. Being a kampung boy, I've always loved planting, always. And I always believe in self-sustaining in food. When we were young, we never bought rice, We had a lot of rice, so much so that even the rats and the birds come and share with our rice, Rats and birds, can you imagine?
Wow.
They'll come and attack. I mean, they attack because we keep them in a barn, right? So we have a lot of rice. And of course, we sell some, but that's a source of income as well. But that's how it is. When you do farming, it's in your blood all the time. So now I started farming. I started in 2016, actually, small one. And now we are producing our own organic vegetable, fruits, and so forth. And I tell you, we should be eating organic vegetable, Do not eat vegetable with full of pesticide. And it's quite easy to grow. And you learn bit by bit over it. And it's nice to see things growing. And we keep fish.
Too.
Yes. And we do, you do a lot of trial and errors, and a lot of imagination. and we do keep fish and chicken as well, and so forth. So, but I intend to use that place as a school to teach my fellow kampung folks to on modern farming. You know, and that the biggest challenge they have, I notice, is this. You know, whatever produce they have, they don't know the extras. They don't know where to sell. Especially with the MCO now, they are left to rot. And which is not fair to them. So I'm thinking now, planning, and I'm going to have a meeting with them soon, possibly after the MCO, is that they will plant their crops of their liking, not the same. Two houses must not plant the same, otherwise they form a competition. Somebody must plant this, another fellow will plant that, and I will promise them I will buy. We will buy those produce and sell it to the market in town. And hopefully we can set up a cooperative like a company whereby that company will buy from them, they get the cash there, and then if the company makes a little bit of profit, minus the administration costs and so forth, then it will be shared again among the villagers. So in that way, they have a double income in a way, Not only that the produce are being bought at certain price, after the produce is being sold to the market, and there is that margin, less administrative costs will be shared by them. So in a way, they will continue to do it, and that will encourage them from planting more. So I'm hoping for that, and it will take a lot of convincing, I think, because it's something. Because working is very hard in life, especially farming. It's not easy, hot sun and so forth. But that's how it is, lah. If you have to be a self-sustaining.
Is this under the foundation that you founded, Tan Sri, the Osimal Foundation?
Not really. We in a part of it actually, but the foundation is more to help students, primarily to build hostels. Well, I told you that I suffered walking to school, so I don't want other kids to suffer for that.
I think there's a photo of the hostel here, right?
Yeah, we built a few. Not so much our money. Our friends of Osimal provided the funding, but we coordinated them. And also contributed some money, but most of the time is sponsored by friends of Osimal, and we manage the construction. Okay. So that's how it is. That's the purpose of that. And of course, we also help a lot of single parents, especially widows, with young kids. They don't have income, and sadly, if they ask for help, sometimes it takes a long time if they have from the authorities. So this is where we come and try to help. We give them material, and we get their relatives to build on a gotong royong basis. And once that, this is the hostel in Longkong Gungan. This one, to come to this place, it will take about 6 hours walking down and up the hill. This one we gave a PPE, I call it, for the hospital during the pandemic. So this hostel now, it can take about 40 students. And this is the hospital in Sedakan. We gave these are imported from China, the PPEs, and these are the good ones. So, so you can see that this is a part of the Osimal activities, Osimal Foundation, and we must thank all our generous friends of Osimal for their help. Okay.
If we could go back to the previous photo. Sorry, Tan Sri, you mentioned earlier about the hostel. If you did not build the hostel there, the students would take about.
They have to walk about 2-3 hours.
Right.
To school every day. So now this hostel, first thing happen is that they can rest, they can study well, and they are being supervised to study. So it makes life much easier. And only weekends you can go home. Weekdays they stay. And we noticed that not only this, we built another 2 or 3 hostels elsewhere, and we noticed even a truancy has gone down. Before that, out of 10, maybe 80% truancy every day. But now with the hostel, they attend classes, which is also good.
So there's really a difference for students.
Oh yes, facilities. How I wish the authorities will build this type of hostel. And it must be well run. In this case here, it is actually managed by the teachers themselves and the parents. If you don't do that, in other words, the reason why I supply the material, but they will do the construction themselves. The reason why is this, so that they have got a sense of owing it, belonging, that it
Right.
belongs to them. And then they will treasure it more than if I get a contractor build it up, they will not feel it. So that's the reason why we provide the material, but they build it so that they got a connection to the building. That's how it is.
Right. Okay. This picture.
Right. That's right.
Contribution by the Osimal
Osimal,
Foundation
yes, that's
to
right.
the foundation, to the frontliners rather.
Yeah, the frontliners. Yeah, that's why they thank us for all this. And
Right.
then this is the thing that we wrote about victim. There was a write up in the local papers about it and what our programs are.
Tell us about the Osimal Foundation, Tan Sri. What motivated you to set up this foundation, and what does this foundation? What are the focus areas of this foundation?
Primary focus actually is to help children in rural areas, so that they don't have to go to school in the hard way as I did. That's the primary thing, and that's why our priority was to build another hostel, build hostels. And the second one was to provide them books. I tell you, most of these students in rural areas, they don't get the latest model, Soalan model, or whatever they call it in the town, where they can do a revision. They don't have that because they are not accessible to them. So what we do is we go to the bookshops in Kuala Lumpur, or sometime in KK, buy them the latest version of this, the possible model answer, model question. I think they do that in the primary school, and we send it to them. So sometime whenever I go to KL, I'll go and buy a lot from the bookstore at the Jalan Tupuk Brahman, I think, and Mariva book. And sometimes they ask me, are you a bookseller? No, I said, these are meant for the kids, poor kids. So the boss, they always give me a 10% discount. They're nice. And some good Samaritan also do contribute, So we bring it and we will sometimes be overweight in the aeroplane, but it's okay. And then we send it to the school and they are very happy with it because they can then know they are not, at least it's a level playing field anymore. It's no longer a disadvantage to them.
Right.
So that's how it is. And the teachers are very happy also that they get this kind of books, revision book and so forth. This is another one, the house we hand over to a widow, the house that we built. Pity her because the house got burned down and she was living in a shed, small shed and whenever it rained, the water will go in. So they have to avoid the rainwater coming inside to sleep, especially at night. So we heard about it and I asked her, how come you have not got the house? Oh, we have been waiting for help, but nobody seems to come and help us. So I said, okay, I will build you a house tomorrow. So she laughed. I don't think they ever believe it, but within 2 months, I think we got it all up. And if not for the MCO, we would have got it completed earlier. And now she's happily living in the house with a proper house and with kitchen, toilet. But thank again to the sponsors. We went around begging. I can call myself as a professional beggar. I think not for myself, I think, but for the good of the financially challenged. So we help out and channel in and make sure that it's put in good use. And we account for the money that we receive here, every cent of it. Like for this project, we just send it to the donors. This is how we spend the money. We account every cent of it and send it to them and give them the report of how the money was spent, what's the result, and so forth. So at least they feel comfortable that the money was well spent.
Right.
So that's how it is. Yeah.
We go to the next photo.
Right.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yes, the Kebun.
This is the potential school that we are going to do. But very soon, hopefully, that it will be. It's nice view here. We have started planting different fruits because I always believe in this. If you want to be a good teacher, you better better learn yourself first. Don't go and teach without you knowing anything. So this chalet will be, of course, for guests who want to come to visit us. But that's how it is. It's very nice to be in this place. Very relaxing for weekend. And if you want to have a peace of mind, this is the place to come. This is the hostel for a student that may come for training.
Okay.
1 week training or so forth.
How
So
many students are you planning to have for this farming school?
maybe we will take initially with about 20 first, because if it's too
Okay.
big, difficult. It's just because again, it's a trial and error. I know the government has set up a training school and so forth, but we want to be here is with hands-on. They actually come not so much for the academic side of it, but the practical side of it, and we want to teach them how to do compost. What are the tricks of things, how to do an organic farming, and the other big thing is we tell them, you go home now, start planting, we will buy your produce. So you are assured of your market, yeah. But once the market is assured, we tell them you get your money if you produce, and then after that, we say that if there is a margin that when we sell it to the market minus administrative cost, we can share again that profit of the company or the cooperative. So these are things that I intend to discuss with the kampung folks, whether we can get through with it once we have MCO is over.
What inspired you, Tan Sri, to start the Osimal Foundation, and have you always been involved in community work?
Yeah, we have always. Remember, I told you that I was in the welfare department, and I saw poverty. I went through poverty as well. I know how it is to be hungry, and to eat only once a day. I know the meaning of hunger. I know the meaning of being discriminated when you are poor. I know the meaning of you are being looked down when you are poor. I know all that. I tested all that, and I know how it is. And I, for one, will never allow it to practice by one person against another. I will be the first one to say, don't you ever do that to the person. I am a strong believer in that. So Osimal, I'm hoping to become our springboard, to help the others. Our biggest weakness now, of course, is we are not well known yet in a way, and people don't really trust us. But I think we believe that action is speak louder than words, lah. So we'll continue to help out. For instance, the other day, not to blow our own trumpet here, but the hospital needed a lot of equipment. They call it the PAPR, and it's not easy to get because one unit costs about 7,500. So, and if for them to procure, they have to go through tenders and all that. So it will take time. By the time they get the material or the device, maybe or equipment, a lot of deaths maybe among the doctors because they get infected by COVID-19. So we managed to secure some funding from our friends and bought those equipment and donated it to the hospitals, and they were very thankful for it. Yeah. So these are things that we hope to achieve them and to help out. So we're helping the authorities and as well as the society at the same time. Our only hope now, of course, is if only we can get a tax exemption, maybe there will be more people, more friends willing to help out. At the moment now, we've applied, but we're still waiting for approval. Because with tax exemption, people tend to be more generous because they can claim for tax deduction. So that is our nightly prayer, that if only we can get a tax exemption, we can do more to our community, especially to the indigenous of Sabah.
I'm sure the community of Saba is very grateful for that. We have a comment from a Mary Rothwell on Facebook. She's saying, very interesting, really enjoyed listening to Tan Sri's life experience, such a humble person. Glad to be somehow related to him. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know Mary?
Thank you.
Tan Sri, I would like to explore your life philosophy as a wrap up to our conversation. One life, Tan Sri, share with us your life philosophy.
I'm might sound too idealistic, but I believe in this. Life is life and worth living. If you live to help others to make their life better. So that life is life and worth living if it is lived to make another life better. That has always been my philosophy. No point to have your life if you don't live it to help others. So that's it, and I hope to be able to continue doing that. Yeah. So that's in one sentence. That's what I believe in. That you have to live so that your life is worth living, and you must use it to help others.
Very well said, Tan Sri. Life is life, and it's
Yes.
worth living if it is to help others.
Is to make. In fact, that's always been my motto. I can read it to you here. I just in case to make it simpler, you know. And this is what I always keep in mind. Life is life and worth living. Yeah. If it is live to make another life better, and that's my motto in life. So I always keep that. So otherwise, there's no point for you to live if you only think of yourself only, isn't it? But I hope I'm not being too idealistic.
I think we need more people like you in this world, Tan Sri.
We have been too. I know it's a bit difficult, but we try our best. Yeah, and we try our best and help others. I think it's very important to help others as much as we can. Not that we then deny ourselves and go and live in a cave, you know. But if you can help, why not help?
Thank you so much for your time, Tan Sri.
Thank you for the time.
Before we go, tell our audience where they can reach you, or if they would like to contribute to the Osimal Foundation. Is there a Facebook page where they can reach out to you?
There is a Facebook, Osimal Foundation, a Facebook, and we are already creating a portal as well. That's where I'm very interested in digital marketing, because it's good for people to know that online, and hopefully that we can make it live, the portal soon. And but otherwise, in the Facebook, you find a lot of activities there. And of course, the farm also, we have a Facebook there, and you can see more picture there of our usual product. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, But one thing I would say is, be careful about the food you eat, especially vegetable. Be careful, because today it may be okay, but it has a long-term repercussion. So it's better to start early and take the right food. I think that's very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And to
Thank you,
our audience, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Why People Do What They Do. So, you've heard it from Tan Sri, and if you would like to know more about Tan Sri and the Osimal Foundation, you can go to the Osimal Foundation's Facebook page. Stay tuned for all the other projects and programs that will be in store by the Osimal Foundation. I'm so excited, Tan Sri, to hear what the Osimal Foundation will achieve this year. That's Osimal, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you like this kind of content that we do, please like and subscribe our YouTube page. You can also find us on Spotify or our website at www.WPDWTD.com. Thank you so much, Tan Sri.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.